Well, that actually segues perfectly into my next question, because I actually want to talk about like how your family reacted, because I know that for me and for a lot of artists of color, telling your family that, oh, I'm gonna be into this art thing, and
Yeah.
I mean, especially like for me, like having as a second generation immigrant, there's this perception that you can only have a career that is practical, and I know that you've mentioned sort of the pressure that a lot of young artists face to get a real degree. For you, how did your family react? What were some of the things that were were there any pressures for you getting into this field? Was there a foundation of support?
hmm So like mostly for my dad, because I was living with my dad at the time. So when my mom, it was like, well, my dad's gonna pay for college, so I don't really know what my mom thought.
Mm-hmm.
But with my dad, because they're not married, but with my dad, he's like, whatever you want to do. So he's like that with like jobs, with relationships, with everything. He's just like, whatever you want to do. He might not like it behind the scenes, but sort of like in the forefront. So he was open to it. Because he's kind of an artist too. He didn't pursue it or anything. He was like, he worked for the state of Michigan as a vocational rehabilitation counselor and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He has like a PhD and a college professor, but he actually learned how to use his left hand to teach me how to draw. So he's like that intensive a parent.
Wow.
So yeah, like if I could just be half the parent he is. So it was a lot of support coming from him,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the only support I really needed.
That's really cool. I mean, I know that right now you're a professor of 3D animation, right?
Yeah, I taught a semester at Loyola University, New Orleans, but I'm not currently teaching.
So how would you contrast the way that you are as an artist versus the way that you are as a teacher of art? Do you think that like you're more patient as a teacher? Do you think that you're more hard on your students than you are? Like, how would you describe that your teaching style versus how you are as an artist?
Yeah, like as a person, I'm harder on myself than anybody else. As like teaching, as long as you try, I'm good. Like if you don't have to be perfect, like I have to be perfect for myself, which I'm trying to be delivered from perfectionism, which I'm on that journey. I'm not as much of a perfectionist as I was maybe 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but with teaching, I'm just like, if you try, yeah, I'm good. I can teach you anything. But if you're like sitting there complaining, I don't have a lot of patience for complaining because it just is annoying. Something I'm also growing as a teacher, and something that I learned when I was teaching at Loyola was that I need, because me as a person, I don't need that much like feedback, like, oh, you're doing great. I kind of get it from myself, but
Mm-hmm.
for my students, I realized they needed that, mostly because you're learning something that you don't have any idea if you're good at. And some of them were like doing really good, but I wasn't telling them that they were doing good. So they kind of were down on themselves. And I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
5 vantage point, I'm like, for a beginner, you're doing awesome. But I have to
Mm-hmm.
tell them. So,
Just like getting into the habit of like actually verbalizing your thoughts
yeah,
and
just like treating people as they need to be treated, because I don't need that. So it's really hard for me to do that for other people. So
so
learning.
so for you, for your own personal background, did you get into art school, or are you self-taught?
So I did well. Also, when I was in high school, my dad had me and I asked him if I could do art instruction school. So if anybody who was old enough to remember the like commercials where they were like, draw the turtle or the pirate.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that actually.
Yeah. So I actually did that. And so I did like 25 out of the 26 lessons. And so I still have my books on my bookshelf now, like where I did the lessons.
Is
For
that one
that.
where you like draw? Is it the one where you have to draw like these things that were on TV and then you had to like send it in?
Yeah, and then you could send in your own personal stuff, which if I knew they weren't going to give it back, I sent it. I drew a picture of Allen Iverson, and they didn't give it back, and I was like, oh, I should have took a copy. I'm like, dang it, that was good. But yeah, so I did that, and so that actually gave me transfer credit when I actually went to college. So I did major in film, video, and animation at Rochester Institute of Technology, and so I do have a degree in film and animation.
Wow, awesome. I mean, that also goes into my next discussion, which is art school. I know that you are aware of how a number of for-profit colleges have tried to scam a lot of students, and for a lot of artists who are looking to make a living off of their work, oftentimes the default is to go into some sort of art program. But there have been a lot of colleges that they just load you up with massive debt for these art degrees, and so a lot of people are thinking like, what is the viability of art school?
Right.
How do you feel about the current state of art schools and art programs? How do you think artists should go about advancing their skills? Are there certain pathways that you would discourage and other ones that you would recommend?
Yeah, so I did have particularly in Louisiana, ITT Tech ITT Tech generally ended up closing, but I know a lot of old coworkers that kind of got taken advantage of by that program because they went to go get like a game design or animation degree, and their skills, they weren't taught as much as they should have been taught. And so at the very crux of art/animation industry, as long as you can do the work and show that you can do the work, you're good. It doesn't matter how you learn it. So it's not if you go try to apply for a job and you don't have a degree, they don't really care, because the main thing that you're going to have to show is your portfolio or your demo reel. So the demo reel is if you take a video, like for me being a 3D modeler, I take a video of the 3D models that I make, kind of do a turntable of it, show my little wireframes of it, and then show like maybe 2, 3, 4 characters, and then put it on YouTube for people to see, and then I put that in with my application. And then maybe if you're a concept design, you're just like drawing your character concepts or whatever concepts that you're doing. And as long as you can prove, as long as you have that proof that you can do it, your degree doesn't matter. But also for people like me, where self-learning is hard. So for me, if I can take a class to introduce me to it, I can then take it from there. But introducing it to myself by myself is very hard, because I think it's that analytical part of my brain that kind of puts my creative side in a prison, as I call it. And so I'm not as free and be able to play around and figure things out, which I'm also working on because I'm trying to teach myself digital sculpting. And that's a lot of playing around, which is not my strong suit. So it's going to in order to learn how to digital sculpt, I'm going to have to learn how to do it. But yeah, if you want to go get a degree, mostly it will probably be for the pipeline, Ringling and some of those other colleges kind of go straight into Disney. So if you want to be strategic about it and you have the money, but you don't need to go to college to work in animation.